Oh no. Fuck. Fuck!
I I couldn't. She was alive. I felt it.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the KS Moto Cafe. So for this week's episode, I want to give you guys an update on what happened to my Skydio 2. I did end up crashing it on my second day, which really sucked. However, I did end up getting a replacement after talking to customer service, and I wanted to give you guys a full detailed experience that I had with Skydio 2 so you don't make the same mistake. So the footage you're seeing right now is me doing a hand launch, as I always do, and at the time, the Skydio 2 seemed like it was able to pick me up pretty easily. And then, for some odd reason, it decides to lose me even though I wasn't really moving. I was a little confused by that. So I used my phone to manually move the Skydio so that it can see me once again and pick me up as a subject. This footage actually was taken a couple hours before the crash video. And the reason I'm showing this to you right now is because it gave me this error message that I've never seen before, and it helped me build a case to Skydio that potentially my Skydio was malfunctioning throughout the whole day. And the message that I got was land immediately, obstacle avoidance is disabled. Like, the whole point of having a Skydio is to have obstacle avoidance. So the fact that it just kind of shut off on its own without me telling it to, it was a bit troublesome. So I quickly followed the instructions and proceeded with the landing procedure. You will see that this was my first time landing it on my hand, which I thought it was pretty cool and smooth. But at the same time, I was a bit puzzled. Now, this was a point where I could have made a decision to go home and try to talk to customer service about it, but instead I thought maybe the environment was at fault, so I decided to change it up and bring it to a location that I thought maybe will do better. It was slightly windier this day. Not too crazy, but I mean, it could have been a factor. So I brought it into an area that was a little bit more closed off. However, I did increase the risk since it was more closed off with a lot more trees.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
So now you're watching me at the second location, which is the location where I ended up crashing the Skydio. Same thing, I do a hand launch. I paired it up with the beacon and the phone, and I proceeded with the launch where this time around, it doesn't lose me right away. It actually stays with me like it did on the first day I used Skydio. So I felt like this was the time where it was working properly compared to when it wasn't working properly a couple hours before this. So my confidence was restored about Skydio, and I decided to proceed with filming myself on the motorcycle as I wanted it to. And I got a little overly confident because I watched a lot of YouTube videos on other Skydio owners who filmed themselves inside the woods with mountain bikes. So the fact that they were able to weave through the forest that is denser than the environment that I'm testing it through, I thought perhaps I'll have a better time using it. But obviously I was wrong. So here I'm just going through a couple options. I changed from 1080p to 4K. And at the same time, I do open up this map that the Skydio app has, which shows you what Skydio sees in terms of where the beacon is and where the phone is and where the Skydio is in reference to GPS signal. But as you can see here, the map shows all three items not in the same location, and it's actually pretty inaccurate. So I don't know if it's the Skydio that was malfunctioning or I did not have enough satellites, but the error of the GPS was quite high. But because I had the cell phone and the beacon with me, I thought it wouldn't have a hard time following me, so I proceeded to continue on. Now, as a full disclosure, at first I thought this was not my fault at all. But after rereading the warranty as well as the Skydio safe flight guidelines, I realized what I was doing was pretty much against everything, as in do not fly in public roads while following on a vehicle, whether it's a motorcycle or a car. Don't fly in an area that has leafless tree branches, which I find kind of bizarre considering most trees do end up having leafless branches. And don't fly near power lines. So on my first run here, I decided to have the Skydio film in front of me so I can keep an eye on where the Skydio is while I'm riding. I thought it would be a cool footage, but it was really difficult for the Skydio to keep up with me. I guess flying backwards while filming me is pretty difficult for its obstacle avoidance, especially at the speed that I want it to go. So it's not something that I would advise or recommend anyone to do while they're either driving a car or a motorcycle or anything that's going beyond 30 kilometers per hour, especially in an area that's closed off like this. And because I noticed that the Skydio seemed to be having a hard time tracking me, I decided to change the angle by having it a little bit on the broad side of me. And then once I changed that angle, it seemed to be functioning okay and tracking me really well until I get into a fork of a road where it decides to go on the other side of the woods, which was not Skydio's fault. So I knew it was going to be a challenge for it anyways, so I stopped right away and I walked over with my beacon and freed it from being stuck. Once I brought it to my side of the road, I tried again to have the Skydio in front of me, but this time I had it a little bit on an angle, so about 10 o'clock from my position. And it seemed to be tracking me really well. I was able to get pretty cool shots, especially when I was going across the bridge. However, I didn't anticipate an oncoming car, and as soon as the car passes me by, it quickly loses track of me, and this is where it gets really dodgy. As you can see, it whips around the power line, which I didn't want it to do. I did pause for a sec here, and this is probably the most regretful moment of my time here. I actually was able to hear just a little bit of the buzzing of the Skydio behind me, so I assumed that it was behind me and tracking me from behind. So what I decided to do was ride up to the top of the hill, hoping that it would follow me, but all it was doing was trying to get out of this rat's nest of leafless branches. Now, my confusion originally was I thought if the Skydio was lost or not following somebody, I thought it would just stay put where it is in a safe location, because that was the experience that I had every time it lost me as a subject. But in this case, it was trying to follow me through the GPS, and I believe that is the reason why it was climbing up higher, which was where most of the leafless branches were. That's not what I wanted to happen, but Skydio has its own brain and thought that was the more clever idea of getting out of there. And when I opened up my phone, what I got was a weak connection page from the app, and it wasn't feeding me any more information other than that. So what I ended up doing was I hopped back on my bike and quickly try to get to the location where I thought I lost the Skydio. Once I got to the site, I turned my bike off again. I'm hoping to hear the buzzing, but at this point it was dead silent, so I knew something went wrong. My hope was that it landed somewhere soft, and as you know, as I walked towards the street, I did not expect it to see it in pieces, but that's what I saw. And there was just a flood of emotions that was filling in my head, and yeah, it was not a good day.
Fuck! No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
So after this, I picked all the parts up and brought it home. Not gonna lie, I was not in a good place, considering that I spent a lot of money for this, and all I was hoping was a good customer service from Skydio to support the customer who basically broke the drone the second day. So once I got home, I emailed Skydio support and provided some details of what happened. And within 24 hours, I got an email back from a representative of Skydio's customer service, very polite and supportive on trying to get more information from me. They asked me to upload the data log that the Skydio and the beacon had. And this data log really acts like a black box on a plane. It has small amount of footages that's pixelated, but it gives you enough details and data that the engineers back at Skydio headquarters can figure out what happened to the device and see if it's covered under warranty. So once I sent it up, it took about 72 hours before I got my first reply back. It wasn't a reply that I wanted to hear. Basically, what they examined was me misusing the Skydio in an area that they told me not to. So clearly, it is the consumer's fault by flying it in this location. Okay, Problem was I kept honing into the fact that it was giving me the message telling me to land immediately because the obstacle avoidance is disabled. And because of that, I just wanted to know if that could have been the cause of my Skydio malfunctioning. And they didn't really have an answer for me on that one. But because it was my first time mishandling the device, Skydio decided to do a one-time only replacement for my drone, which I was very thankful for. Skydio 2 is made in USA, and there is no vendors in Canada that sells this. And I really had no use for its extra batteries or charger or the beacon or even the bag if they didn't replace the drone. I did end up getting a replacement a week later, and I'm very happy that it arrived. It works fine. I tried it out. My only issue now is trying to follow the guidelines. So if you are looking to use this for your motovlog, and if you're going to use it on public roads, which is 99% of the roads that I take, 1% being my driveway, like there's no way I would be able to film myself riding my motorcycle. I do find that kind of frustrating because at the time when I was purchasing the Skydio 2 and when I was researching on YouTube, all I could see were videos that the Skydio 2 device is successfully bypassing all these obstacles that Skydio 2 tells you not to fly in. And I was convinced that this is the best drone out there for that. And I still believe it is so. But the issue is because it's not covered under their warranty, you're kind of out of luck if it gets damaged based on those conditions. So I was just lucky enough that I had a footage where it was giving me these error messages. But if I didn't have that, then I would have had to send my Skydio in for it to be repaired. And based on the damage it sustained, most likely I would have to buy a new one or a refurbished one, which would have still been close to $800 to $1,000 US. And I'm like, how can I spend that money when I know it will happen again and I would just have to spend another $1,000? So to me, it was not sitting well with me. But now that I have it back, I at least know the limitations that it has. And I'm definitely going to practice more before I bring it into something like this. And at the same time, anytime I fly, I know majority of the application that I'm using it for will probably not be covered by a warranty. So I just wanted to let everyone know who's watching this that thought about using Skydio 2 for their motovlogs. If you are using it to film yourself while moving on your bike on a public road that has power lines and leafless branches, the warranty will most likely not cover you for that. And there is no separate insurance that you can purchase that Skydio will replace your broken drone without question. It's just something that the company needs to work on in terms of their warranty plan. It is a smaller company, but definitely a far superior product than the DJI for obstacle avoidance. So I still value the product itself. It's just you've got to be a little bit careful because it's almost like a one-time purchasing. Skydio's customer service was bang on in terms of response time because they could have been a company that just does not answer your calls, which is even more frustrating. So as a consumer, I was happy to get a response. However, my confidence level of using the Skydio dropped significantly, not because I don't trust the product, but because of the red line drawn by the warranty and the flight guideline. It makes the application that I want to use it for way too restrictive. So Skydio, thank you for giving me the replacement. I got your warning. I will do my best to follow your guidelines and your warranty, but the application I need it for, the reason I purchased this for, was to film myself ride a motorcycle on public roads. Again, I don't recommend you using it like this because it's not under warranty, but for me, I have now accepted the fact that anytime I use it like this, it's a one-time event where if it does crash, that I will not be covered for it, and I will accept that now. Hopefully you learned something from this video, and please click that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so, and comment below what your thoughts are on Skydio 2. Thanks very much. Ride safe, ride prepared, ride on. Peace.